Thank you, and thank you for attending VST CXO Summit. And today, I'd like to discuss with you the importance of physical infra for your hybrid IT. So, my colleagues and the speakers earlier have extensively discussed about the massive migration into digital transformation. They have discussed the IT infra and the IT infrastructure and architecture needed to go to that digital transformation. What we see in Schneider is the importance of a reliable physical infra to support your hybrid IT. So since we can see now the importance of IT on everyday processes of your business. So we see that we need to support that so that your digital economy, your tapping into digital economy will not be affected by any downtime. So as you can see my screen, I'll be discussing some quick topics, the trends in the market, the physical infrastructure at the main data center, at your colo or at your cloud versus the local edge or regional edge infrastructure that we see. I'm going to present as well the local edge solutions that Schneider has and the regional edge solution as well. And of course, having deployed all of these, I'd like to discuss also, give you an idea on how Schneider sees the best practice to manage all of these sites. Okay. So in terms of digitization, we can see that applications are getting more intensive in terms of the infrastructure and um, the requirements that it needs to run. So we've seen developed solutions being implemented already: smart retail, virtual reality, smart cities, and in the future, we're seeing more use of digital factory, which Schneider is now utilizing, smart utilities, video analytics. So heavier and intensive requirement for resources. And with the increase of all these IoT, all the connections that you need, what we see now is a transfer or a need for a very reliable edge compute. So again, as mentioned by all my colleagues earlier, we know that the transition into cloud is there. It's already accepted, but there are applications that really needs to be at the edge, near the user, because at the edge, near the user, they need really heavy resources, compute, and bandwidth. So I'll talk about the local edge and as well as the regional edge later. So combined, this is what we have been discussing earlier is the hybrid IT. And what we see based from IDC is that by next year, 90% of enterprises will rely on this hybrid IT. So focusing on the local edge, just to compare the physical infrastructure, again, I'm discussing about the physical infra supporting your IT. We have seen that at the cloud or your colo or your main data center, investment has been put to make sure that there is redundancy in power and cooling. There is monitoring in place. There's data center staff 24/7, and it's highly secure. Unfortunately, what we have seen is something like this. Not good to look at. Basically, there's no redundancy. Most of these local edge has been implemented as ad hoc. So before, the processes here was light and doesn't affect much the day-to-day processes. But now we're talking about digital economy. We cannot rely that um, IT infra that we are all talking about earlier to a physical infra that looks like this. No redundancy, no monitoring, and everything is unsecure. So other challenges of deploying edge compute and the physical infra that you need to be there Uh, Clients would like to have quick deployment, speed to market. They like to match the expansion that they have to the physical on how they will deploy the physical infra. They want to have the standardized design. So basically, they don't want to have to design the floor plan, the cooling, the power of each site. They want to make sure that the environment is protected from physical and other threats. And of course, budget. We're looking at budget. We're deploying or you're deploying several sites, tens or maybe hundreds of sites for your local compute, local edge compute. And we want to make sure that the cost for that is optimized. And of course, after deploying all of these, you want to be able to monitor this physical infra. So a standard data center would look like this. It would have its UPS, its cooling, distribution of power, and of course, the enclosure for that one. What we have developed, is a micro data center. So for those deployments that would fit inside one rack, we have put everything inside and we call it micro data center. So there are two options, basically, micro data center 43U and the EC micro data center. What our clients have seen here in terms of benefits would be the fast deployment. So instead of building small rooms for their IT for these sites, it's all in one box and we roll it in and everything is inside. Deployment is in weeks, not months. You don't have to talk to several vendors, having several margins all over the place. Basically, you're just discussing and talking with one vendor, us. And in terms of security, you're ensured that it is secure physically as well as in terms of IT. So highlights here, of course, this is all in one. The cooling, the power is everything is here already. So it is highly adaptable and very customizable. In terms of management, everything is pre-wired already. So inside of these solutions would be the panel boards, the circuitries connecting the UPS into the main panel board, as well as the sensors. All of these are interconnected already, delivered to site. You'll just plug it in basically. And then in terms of management, all of these solution can be monitored remotely. So just to compare the features of each solution, again, we have micro DC 43U, our optimum solution, EC MDC 42U, which is 42U height, and then half rack for that one, we also have a solution. So in terms of the maximum IT, we're looking at 3 kilowatt for the two, and then 2.4 for the other one. In terms of use space, we have a large available use space for the 43U. It's because of how we have been able to deploy and integrate the other components like the batteries and the power distribution are all done on the sides. Unlike this one, it's everything on top. So for power distribution, the 43U would have a capability to have two and redundancy. So if at site you have an available UPS supply, you can supply as well. So you have two basically power supply, utility and UPS, and you can integrate and have to run two and redundancy for your power supply. For cooling technology, it comes with split type, both of them. All of them has split type DX rack mountable, but this one has eco mode. So eco mode, just to share what eco mode is that aside from it having an air conditioner or split type rack mount precision cooling unit, it also have exhaust fans installed at the front and the top. So it will run when there's an issue with the air conditioning. And at the same time, if the load is very low, let's say 1.2 kilowatt and below, and the outdoor air is acceptable, It will turn off the air conditioning and run the exhaust fans instead, saving you money. Going back, other features would be security. This one comes with standard lock, intrusion detection, and an optional keycard access. The others that we have would have standard locks only. And then in terms of management, this comes with our reliable NetBots EMS solution and is readily available to tap into our cloud-based DSIM, which I will talk about later. The other one, you would need to just purchase an additional gateway, hardware gateway, to connect it into our cloud-based DSIM. Okay, so those are the features. Basically, the difference for these solutions would be the MDC for 3U is highly customizable and it has higher reliability. The other ones basically meets your basic requirements. So what does it look like? Comparing to a standard conventional deployment of IT or our small server room versus this micro data center setup is that you have to talk to so many vendors and have to have a separate room built up. So you'd have your own fire suppression, air conditioning, and then the race floor as well, all to be done and to add to the timeline of your deployment. Where here, everything is inside. All of those components are inside. No need for a dedicated room. You can roll it in because it's, again, secure, physically secure. So what you have is savings on time, deployment in weeks. You can save in terms of CapEx up to 48%, as mentioned by our partners, and standardized designs. So basically, you don't have to design at each room, measure, and all of those. Here, you know what you will have to implement, deploy, and then just roll it in to your sites. So how to know? How to know that you will be able to implement this? But basically, it would be for a commercial indoor space, and there's a specific area, even if it's unsecured, it's okay. The environment is acceptable, mild temperature variances, and there is a requirement for active cooling, or basically an aircon. And if the load is 3 kilowatt and there's a space for condenser, so that's around 20 meters away, like a split type, common split type in the house, you will be able to deploy this type of solution. So again, this is micro data center. So aside from that, of course, other sites would have more than one rack. So for this one, we're looking at our regional edge solution. So for this one, I'll talk about our EcoStruxure Row data center. Okay. So our EcoStruxure Row data center enables, again, standardized deployment, adaptable, expandable as well. So basically, these are row of racks together with the cooling and UPS all in one space. The benefit of this one is that you don't need a room, a server room. So this can be just beside your IT office if there's space, because it's secured already. It brings value to the customers. It's an integrated solution already. It's highly configurable, so it doesn't just come in one size. So we can configure it using our tool, and it's very adaptable to the space that it will be provided. What does it look like? So it's a combined solution of our reliable products. So for that one, we have our cabinets, our EPC cabinets, easy racks, and then we have the in-row cooling here, as you can see. And then all of those are contained. So as you can see here, the front, the door is not perforated at the back. It's a steel door. So all of those, as you can see, contains the cooling, hence not requiring a separate room for the cooling. So this is standalone. You can put it just inside your IT office. So this can expand from 2 racks to 8 racks, depending on the requirement. It can be either split type unit or chilled water, depending on the cooling availability on your room. Oh, so as you can see here, these are wholly contained solution. So we call it EcoStruxure Row Data Center. Again, everything is contained. You don't need to build a room. What we strive for is a faster go-to-market for your team, less complexity because this can be assembled like Lego, basically, at your site. The power distribution will just run through this unit. You don't have to run so many wires from anywhere to everywhere. So again, everything is simplified. Everything is as shared as discussed earlier. All the components are already beside each other. Okay. So what we see in terms of the applications here, a lot of applications, especially in government, in healthcare, education, industrial, and finance. So I want to share some success stories where we deployed our edge data center solutions. So for a Southeast Asian country, they were requiring this country, their weather forecast operation center was requiring IT on the edge because all the compute, the sensors that they have deployed has tripled or quadrupled, and they need several edge compute to be able to process all of those sensor readings. Before they were relying just on cloud, but with the increase in number of sensors, they have realized that uh, the process to compute all of those will take a long time. So they relied in several edge compute so that the processes can be done near to the sites. Okay. So again, they want something very repeatable, standardized solution, and everything to fit in one rack. So for this one, Southeast Asian country, we've been able to supply the micro data center for the 3U to solve or provide solution to their challenges. Also for branch and military, same here. They were needing an all-in-one solution to house their edge compute. And the locations for here are the bases basically across the country. And again, the solution that they tap to is the micro data center for the 3U. So it's not just government applications. We had customers for auto manufacturing. So with the advent of Industry 4.0, the reliance on IT, software-defined automation for the manufacturing is increasing. And for this customer, they wanted a simple solution that can be deployed on site. So space is limited. They cannot build a new room basically. And for the several factory warehouses that they have, they want to deploy quickly. And again, the micro data center is the solution. So the next challenge after being able to deploy these reliable, repeatable, standardized edge solutions is the need to manage all of these. So we have talked to our customers that have been deploying edge, and they have this uh, challenges that have been raised to us. So basically, they want to be proactive. They want to know if there's a problem with the power. How can they know that there will be a problem before it's too late? They want to know in terms of cycles of their purchases, maintenance, the battery replacements. They want to have something that will help them define the budget that they need for the following year. And they want to know in terms of access, who's accessing their equipment. And of course, the final would be having so hundreds of or tens or hundreds of sites, how can they manage them? Because management will not provide additional IT staff. So what we believe in is a cloud-based DSIM to manage these explosion of of edge data centers. So why cloud? Why a cloud-based DSIM? So comparing with a traditional DSIM, basically it gives you descriptive data or telling you what's happening or what has happened. And at the same time, it can give you some diagnostics, which is basically giving you logs. So what cloud-based DSIM brings because of big data analytics would be predictive data, telling you what can happen, what failure can affect your IT. And aside from that, we can give recommendations. The cloud-based DSIM can give you recommendations on how to prevent that. So that's how advanced a cloud-based DSIM is. Other benefits would be it's easy to get started. You can access it from anywhere, from any phone. You don't need to do VPN, messy VPN, all of those, because it's based from the cloud. You can access it from any device. It's pay as you grow. The pay just the number of licenses you need, the number of devices you need to connect, and then of course the security is and all the updates and backup is done from our side. So this our solution runs in Microsoft Azure, and of course, you know the reliability of the IT, the security, and all of those are certified. Our solution is called EcoStruxure IT. So these is the set of solutions that we have that runs on 3 layers. The first would be, of course, all the connected products, the physical devices that you have on your data centers, the infrastructure, the cooling units, the UPS, all of those, all our products come with intelligence in it, a network card basically, and basically dispatching all data. Those will be collected by a monitoring layer. We call it EcoStruxure IT Expert. And that alone is very powerful. That is based in the cloud and will consolidate all data and provide you with big data analytics, telling you which devices need to be replaced. It gives you health of the UPS, knows when your battery will fail, and recommends what you can do to lengthen the life of the batteries. Then we have planning tool, of course, for large data centers. And we have services as well uh, that we can offer, digital services that can help you monitor critical equipment and devices that you want someone to focus on 24 by 7. That will be remotely managed and monitored by our team, as well as our team can remotely decide and dispatch services if it sees a problem. So for you, you'd see an alert in your uh, DSIM in your monitoring software. And before you know it, our service is already there fixing the problem for you. Okay. So again, for the edge deployment, the physical infrastructure, what we believe in to be successful in these times would be having a safe and secure environment for your IT. You need standardized design and reliable solutions so that you don't need to repeat everything and that your speed to market will increase. And finally, once you deploy everything, all this physical infrastructure with your edge compute, you need to have a reliable management and monitoring system to make sure everything is running well at 100%. So again, through Schneider, all of these we have developed solution, and you can talk to us, talk to VST for any inquiries. Thank you.